What's going on, guys? We bought a motel, and today we're gonna take you on a walkthrough tour of all 18 units. We're also gonna show you everything that goes into due diligence because you're gonna come with us for it. So with that being said, let's jump into it. All right, guys, we had to come away from the road, but I am super excited about this deal. It's an 18-unit motel. It also comes with a house where the current managers are living, and fingers crossed, we're hoping we can hold on to them forever. They are phenomenal. But today we're gonna take you around, we're gonna show you some of these units, we're gonna talk about the process of how this motel works, and we're gonna dive into everything due diligence-wise that we've gotta do to make sure it's a good deal. All right, guys, I'm super excited about this deal, and we're gonna dive into the numbers in a minute. But first off, I wanted to take you on a little tour. This is one of the units. All of them are pretty comparable. You can see they've got commercial grade carpet, and the managers here have really done a phenomenal job. They've cutesied up this place. You can see they've tried to kind of make it their own vibe, and I am loving it. So this has 2 beds, 2 queen beds. You can see this is an old motel. So we've got old original tile. This tile is throughout the place. And honestly, tile like that I really like. If it's in good shape, we'll hold on to it. But we also have lots of plans to continue to upgrade and update things in these units. There's lots of flooring, lots of paint, lots of tile, lots of fixtures, doors, lots of things that over time we're going to implement. And what makes these properties unique is they're usually owned in cash by the previous owner. And a lot of times the books are messy, to say the least, just because of the way that they run these things. Now, with the current managers, we've been beyond impressed with how they take care of their tenants and take care of the property, but we also see a ton of room to add value. So I'm gonna talk about all of that, but today in this video, that might not be until the end, because we're gonna go through, we're gonna show you some of the units, and we're gonna talk about the inspection portion and all that goes into that as we're coming and looking at these properties. So figuring out, first of all, what this goes for, you kind of have to peg down the numbers, and also, in combination with the quality of the property. And it can get a little tricky figuring out what you're purchasing and what you should pay for it when a lot of times the books aren't there. What this does, though, is it gives you a massive advantage when competing against larger corporations where this wasn't listed. This is something we found off market. And then when it comes to the books and going through all of that, it's gonna be fun to see. But I wanted to take you in here. This is one of the other units that they just updated. So you can see they've got all new commercial carpet. They just repainted the walls. They've got new pictures. And so when we're looking at this, we kind of have to say, all right, what are we looking at and what needs to go into due diligence? There's the numbers side of things that we need to make sure that check out. So we're diving into taxes, insurance, what the average bookings are each month, when the high season, the low season, and overall what we think the property can bring in and what the expenses look like. And so again, I'm gonna jump into that at the end. The next portion of due diligence includes going through and doing a full inspection. So if you come out here, you can see, and he might have gone over, but we were having them check all the drain lines, because if the sewer line is bad and we need to replace that, that's going to be a major expense. So we've got the plumber here checking all of the drain lines. We also have an inspector that's coming and walking every single unit. They're looking at the plumbing, the water heaters, the electrical, just the overall quality of the property. We're looking at the roof. We're looking at everything that we can to see what our expense is going to be on this property. Now, the good news about this property is it's renting right now as is, but there are a lot of expenses that are going to go into it. And we kind of have to take that into consideration when we are analyzing this property and making sure that it's a good fit. So we're gonna dive back into the due diligence in just a second, but I wanted to show you guys the pool room. I think this is pretty cool. They've got a pool table, TV, nice setup, a cool little kitchen area back here if they need it. And as you can see, overall for a motel, I really am impressed with how good of a job the current managers have done, and I'm really excited to see where we end up. Now, for me, and again, this is the first time I've purchased a motel, so I'm learning as we go, but we're gonna go through and we, on the due diligence end, are going to say, hey, where do we think for this location the optimal rent price is, and how much money do we have to put in to get these units to that degree. Now, am I going to want to compete with the high-end Marriott here in town with this motel? No, not at all. We're not gonna wanna renovate these units to that, but we are gonna look at our other competition for stuff that is this age, this size, and see where do we think we can rent these units at, and make sure that we're not overspending on renovations. Because if we come in and we overspend for this location and this type of property, all that does is put tenants in a property where we might end up with more problems, and it makes it so that we're overspending for a return we might never get. And this is part of the juggling act of these kinds of properties, is you wanna make sure you're putting money into them so that they can perform kind of at peak, but you don't wanna overspend where you end up in trouble. And on top of all of that, you wanna make sure you're not overspending on the property to begin with if this isn't going to be a deal. Now, the trick with diving into all of the renovations, you need to take that expense into consideration, but then also you've gotta figure out what price something like this should go for. And for this deal in particular, I am ecstatic because we think it's a pretty easy home run. It's got the 18 units, it's got this, it's got the full house and check-in up at the front, and we were able to pick this up for $900,000. Now, just to put things into perspective, on average, they've been bringing in between $17,000 and $18,000 a month on average. So just to show you some numbers, we're gonna run it just at the 17,000 times 12. So you can see it's bringing in over $204,000 a year, all right? Now we've got expenses and we'll dive into that, but if this was a rental property and I was looking at it bringing in that much money, I would assume it was worth close to $2 million. Here's the exciting part about this particular property. With a property like this, we found lots of areas where we can add value. We think that we can lower the amount of vacancy because right now it's probably 40 or 50% based on the numbers we've looked into. We also believe we can increase what they're paying every month because this is leasing out per unit at only $60 and the next best competitor is probably $80 to $100 for something like this. We also think we can increase the quality to where we can maybe even charge a little bit more than that. So we've got room to add value with what we charge. We've got room to add value with lowering vacancy. And we know we can lower vacancy because this isn't listed on Travelocity, isn't listed on a lot of the sites like Airbnb or any of the sites you'd go to book a hotel. It doesn't even have a website right now. So from adding a website to getting it listed to putting in a new system, we think that there are tons of ways that we can add massive value to potentially make this worth even more than the $2 million that I think it's worth when we're picking it up for only $900,000. Now, I'm bouncing all over the place because I am just ecstatic about this property, but I want to give you a little bit of a rundown on kind of how I handle due diligence, because I think a lot of times when you look at the proper way to handle due diligence with a bigger hotel, motel, there's so many things that go into it, but with properties like this, I think the one thing I would tell you is you need to get the confidence to say, hey, this is so much of a home run that we can kind of do the math on paper, and then knowing we're gonna have to figure out a lot of other stuff. We know there are lots of areas that we can add value. We know there are lots of things that we can do to increase this property, but now it's gonna get interesting in due diligence because we're gonna sit down with them, we're gonna have to figure out, hey, these books, a lot of it on paper, a lot of it's been done in cash, a lot of it is for sure out of date in the way that it's been handled. How can we pick apart these numbers, see what we've actually been doing, and find all of the ways to add value? Now, the thing that's comforting is the way that it's already been functioning is more than going to cover paying the mortgage, paying the bills, and giving a phenomenal return. Where a deal like this gets exciting is if you're willing to jump into it when the books do look messy and there is a property that needs some work, is you can say, hey, I know my worst case scenario is still a phenomenal return. Now, let's get the property under contract at a phenomenal price. Let's own the property, and then let's really jump in with both feet and getting the website, getting it listed on the right places, getting the property cleaned up and renovated, and getting it to perform at a substantially higher level. And right now, we don't even know what that is. And so over the course of the next couple months, I'm gonna be able to make a couple videos about this property, share with you the process of purchasing a motel, some of the issues that we run into, all of the fixes that we've got to do, and hopefully at the end we can say, holy crap, not only was this a good return, but this was a great return because of what we're able to turn this into. All right, guys, that's the end of today's video. We're gonna go see how the rest of the inspection goes. It looks like everything is coming out clean. The units are awesome, and I'm so excited to see where this property takes us. But in the meantime, make sure you let me know in the comments what you want to know about this process so I can dive into it more in detail, what questions you have. And we're going to keep you posted on how it goes over the next little bit. We now own multifamily residential real estate. We've got some commercial gym buildings. We have a law office building. We have storage units, and now we also have a motel. So hopefully we can figure this one out like we have the others, and we'll keep you posted. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the little bell. We'll look forward to seeing you in future videos.